The people services team are a case management team, so they support the business in any employee relation issues. So that can be disciplinary, grievance, any maternity, paternity, you name it, anything that's involved in an employee life cycle.
The challenge that existed is that we had got demand for that service far outstripping the resources that we'd got to deliver that service. So what that resulted in, unfortunately, was a backlog. And in effect, the managers that need that advice need it quite quickly. You know, there's risk, they're running high-profile contracts in prisons, etc. And unfortunately, you know, we do have an SLA of trying to get back to customers within 48 hours, but we were not making that at all.
A team manager who was wanting advice would ring the help desk. They would be given a ticket number and told that an advisor would be allocated to them and they would be informed in due course. The managers were very frustrated having to wait for that advice where they want it now.
Because we work in health, obviously it's a 24/7 service. Often they would be informed by my HR, you'll be allocated an advisor, they will contact you. Sometimes that manager would be off shift, be working a late turn, say, for the next few nights, and it would be very difficult for the two to meet up and to sort out the issue.
You'd have up to over 100 cases in your bucket. You'd be concerned because you couldn't get to them.
It was really demotivating. The pressure, all you can think about is the numbers. I've got numbers of tickets. You're constantly aware of what you're not doing rather than what you are doing. You don't feel like you're adding any benefit at all.
We'd done all of the usual things. We'd looked to bring in additional resources. We'd put fixed-term contractors in the service. We'd thrown overtime at it. And what we were doing is basically just standing still.
We did a complete review of all the cases and the demand that we've had over the last 2 years. We did a deep dive on 100 cases, and what we were doing in that deep dive was trying to understand the end-to-end times on the case. Did we actually resolve it? Did we give the customer exactly what it was that they needed? How many times did we touch the case? Were they progressive touches? Were they non-progressive touches? And what we did is we pulled all of that information together so we could have a look at where we needed to fix.
The most powerful thing for me is that they put hardcore statistics around what they witnessed, and what they said was 60% of the time that the case advisors were working was absolutely unproductive. So their whole concept of customer first, it's so simple that in effect, you know, if what you do doesn't add value to the end output for the customer, then why are you doing it? And then the other refreshing thing about how they worked with us and made it different was that you expect them to solution it for you. That's what consultants do. Well, they did, but in a very different way and a very empowering way. So they take members of the team and they get them involved in solutioning how the service can be different.
Good afternoon, my HR, Nathan speaking. Can I take your name, please?
We looked at changing the service so if they ring up the help desk, they'll get put straight through to a case advisor.
Okay, I'll just put you through to the case advisor now. Thank you.
And that call will be dealt with there and then. So whatever it is that they needed from us, whatever support, we'll provide it to them.
Okay, well, I'm glad I was able to help you today with your query. What I'll do is I'll close the case off. But
If they don't need any further support from us, we will actually close that case down. In the past, we'd have kept it open and we would have constantly been chasing that manager for updates or asking them to send the documents in to us. We don't need that because obviously that's no benefit to the manager whatsoever.
The new way of working, I believe, has empowered the managers to use their skills and manage the case as it's needed, but within a safe, appropriate, value-adding structure from HR to provide that necessary information, that necessary advice.
Everyone is much happier with the service. They feel that there's direct contact, that they can pick up the phone, they can speak to the person that they need to speak to. There's no waiting, there's no delays, and that it's a service that's now on hand for them.
In December, we resolved 19% of cases within the first 3 days. In January, it was 13% of cases within the first 3 days. But since the rollout of the customer first methodology at the beginning of February, we resolved 45% of our cases. So we had 676 cases come in February, and 45% of those were resolved within the first 3 days.
I had 125 open cases and now I've got 26. So within 3 months, my workload is now 20% of what it was. And the advice that you now give back to your customers gives that real wow factor.
We're able to take the time to really have a valuable conversation with a manager that needs our support immediately and not in 2 weeks' time when they don't need us anymore. It's a lot more fulfilling as a HR professional to be able to provide that support, because that's what we're passionate about and that's why we're in this.
I think that what they do is brilliant. I think what they've done for us has been almost life-changing, certainly for the team, certainly for me and Joe, who runs the team. And, you know, if I could bottle this service and sell it to other people, I absolutely would.